in action, and I got the hubby RC with me today, and Amania.
Hello, everyone. Amania Salas here, the conservative poet. Happy to be here today.
It's
Lots
Friday, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Chopping It Up.
Chopping it up. Friday afternoon.
It is indeed a great day. I was out today and I said, man, I couldn't even look. The day was so lovely, not cold, not hot, just beautiful. This is how I would love Florida to be at all times. Just easy. Oh, it was just lovely out today.
Anyway. That's perfect weather, 78 degrees. What's not to love about that, right? Just so perfect.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, it was an interesting day today in politics, huh?
Oh God, yeah. I'm gonna say both locally and nationally. At that point, it has been a very interesting day. I'll just say it right here. At our local politics, Geraldine Thompson was put to rest today. It was a packed house, if I must say. She had a lot of powerful people in the room. Benjamin Crump showed up to pay his respects as well. It was quite a lot of the Florida legislatures were there, senators, a lot of local politicians, Buddy Dyer and Escamani, a whole lot of people, came to pay their respects today to the legendary Geraldine Thompson. So rest in peace to her.
Wow. That's a beautiful turnout.
Yeah, she had people from all sides that were like, wow, can't believe this happened. So maybe there's a lesson in that.
Yeah.
They say that you should come together before somebody passes away, right? Maybe the two sides of the aisle should come together and start working together.
Yeah. And it is I saw something the other day. Gene Hackman also, who passed away, him and his wife recently, a couple of days ago. I mean, some of the bizarre things, I don't really want to get into it here, but he said in an interview not too long ago that how he respected Ronald Reagan and how, he's always been a Democrat, is a Democrat, but he saw something in Ronald Reagan that, he could reach across the aisle and embrace that. And so, yes, there were people from both sides of the aisle for Geraldine Thompson's funeral today, and we should be able to do that. We may not agree on our politics, but we're human beings, friends. We should be able to be cordial and these things, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there's a bubble thing too, if you're not careful, right? Before the election, you had Cornel West on the radio show, Amania, and I thought that was interesting. Obviously, politically, we're on completely opposite sides of the spectrum, but the opportunity to even have a conversation, if I recall correctly, he conceded some points. And so we would have never known that. And I mentioned to you privately, I said, I thought that was a great idea and a bold move to do that, because we don't do that.
Right.
It's like, what happened to any type of political discourse, right? Or actually having a conversation to say, all right, this isn't going to be a shouting match. Make your point. Let's discuss. Things we can agree to disagree on, great. But what you find in those situations is people say, you know what, you make a great point there. I would agree with that. And so you're thinking this person is just pure the devil. And there's some people like that, sure. But oftentimes, if you don't get to common ground, you'll never know.
Exactly.
And you'll never know when you have a chance to educate. So I think with Geraldine Thompson, she was liked by both sides, and necessarily agreeing politically, she was a fixture in Florida politics for years. So it's good to see that a group came out the way that they did. So
yeah, it was definitely something to see. Going in early in, I mean, you couldn't get in there. I mean, it was so packed. but
Mhm.
it just shows you that she was a powerful woman in this community. And one of the things that was said was to, who's going to pick up the battalion now? That was one of the, like, who's going to continue the work now? For me, on the other side, I'm okay. Yeah, we're going to continue to work. We're going to do this. But that was a big question in the room. Who's going to pick up the baton and now lead where this gap has now been put? And so, we had a whole lot of young progressives in the room, let me tell you. But yeah, they're going to pick up that baton and they're going to run with it. A lot of them that were in the room today.
What a way to get the young guys, huh?
Well,
the younger demographics.
Yeah, I mean, doing when we talk on We Are the Watchmen Weekly this week, we're going to talk about Christianity, the gap with young people, that level of influence and indoctrination. Those of us who are older now look back and say they tried to indoctrinate us in school and get us riled up that way. And some people actually went down that road. Gen Xers, we are wholly unique, I think, in how we look at things. But some of us went way off the reservation. And we were one of the most common sense generations, right? Because we're like MacGyver. We just figure it out. That was our whole calling. And we looked at things practically.
We also had our grandparents.
Yes, true.
Our grandparents made the biggest difference because they're the ones that held the traditional, generational, like, this is the way America is. It wasn't until like 1971 when we were taking off the gold standard, right? And they took away the Made in America, all that excitement. We lost the culture of just being excited about being Americans. Like, they pulled that via the media, they pulled that away from us.
Yeah.
Right. So we remember, our grandparents coming across, or, your grandmother and what they went through, but we remember all of that. We've got all the stories, and the young generation, they don't have those stories anymore. They don't know what it's like. So now they're remaking the culture and what it means to be Americans. And we Gen Xers are standing in the middle going, hold on a second. We want to go back to.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. There's our cynicism as Gen Xers. That's how we're referred to. We're cynics and we're skeptical of everything. Well, yeah, I mean, rightly so. Like, we survived nuclear war, economic depression and collapse, right? Like, this was normal part of our lives, right? We started making our own dinners at like 3 years old, and I mean, it's just
we took care of our younger siblings.
We took care of our younger siblings, so we see this very clearly, and it's like you're trying to go back and grab those younger generations to get them to think critically before it's too late, before they go completely over the edge. So
yeah.
What I think is that they've never really had the ability to really love the country, to be poured into them, like what the love of country isn't poured into them at all. And so therefore they have no allegiance, right? They don't pledge their allegiance really to the state, to the country, because when we're looking at school, they don't teach them about that. They don't teach them about loving our country. They don't teach them about respecting our country. They don't think about these things. And, that leads us right into what happened today in the Oval Office with Vladimir Zelensky coming to our country to beg us for money, and then you can't even wear a suit to meet the president of the United States of America. And they poured that out. They said, you gotta have respect. You coming here to beg us for money and you can't even put on a suit and tie, and then you have the nerve to be combative and all of that. Yeah, JD Vance put the schooling down. He said, nah, you can't do that, bro.
Okay, so we're going to show the video.
The JD Vance smackdown.
So Trump gave a smackdown, but JD Vance's was by far, like, I'm kind of surprised that, JD Vance outdid Trump, because I thought Trump was really going to give him a good smack. But JD Vance, as far as I'm concerned, gave the best smackdown ever. So here we go.
I'm not hearing it. Mm. Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. Amania, did you say you weren't able to hear that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let me try.
But that's
Let me
okay.
try that.
I listened to it a little while ago, so I already.
No, then our audience wasn't able to hear it. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, they
guys.
weren't able to either.
I don't
Okay.
know. I just
Yeah, so let me do this again to make sure. We'll run it again for everybody because it's certainly worth running. So let's try it again here.
About the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve the problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering all
position
these
to
questions.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Wow.
like, wow, the audacity. I mean, like, seriously? But JD Vance was like, let me just cut you off right there. You know, somebody needed to say, listen, you come into the Oval Office, you don't have a suit on. And I heard remarks that he was like, you know, when the war's over, then I will put on a suit and look like you. And it's like,
Then he
Are
said,
you
"I'll buy
kidding
a
me?
cheaper suit." You know, like that's what he said. I'll buy a cheaper suit when that time comes.
Yeah, they got to get it in super medium. Right.
But
Zelensky's about 4'6".
you know, we forget how deadly JD Vance is when it comes to debate. Like we haven't been listening. You know, no. If we remember during this election cycle, how he devoured, ate them and spit them out, all of these media people, he was deadly. And that's that's the JD Vance that showed up today. Yeah.
Yep. So Stephen Collins writes, Zelensky is one of the Christ killers and they hate and despise Christians. So it's like one of those, you know, the things that you need to know about people are really important.
Yeah. And you know what else I noticed in there? The body language of the men, how they were. You could like Trump was like, you know, the boss, like, and and you know, there was a moment with Marco Rubio. There was a picture out there on Twitter. There's a difference there, but yeah, the body language of how these men were sitting could tell you a lot about you know who's in charge here.
So Marco Rubio already took care of the monies. There's no more monies going to Ukraine. He's already taken care of that. Yay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also thought that, how JD Vance talks about, how dare you come into our country, into our rules, and you want to lecture us about X, Y, and Z. And what I'm getting out of all of this is that not JD Vance, but Zelensky is not ready to negotiate. And that's the problem. He's not ready to negotiate. He's not ready to end this thing. Trump is saying, we're here to help you. We want this thing finished. You need to negotiate this so we can finish this so nobody else dies. But well, we've been in the war this long. What do you mean we need to give it up this now? No, we're not going to do that. And it's like, no, friend. Putin is not going to give you back the countries that you have annexed it. He annexed it. He's not giving them back. They're not going to allow you into NATO. So you need to, pick up your cross and move on. Pretty much.
So General Flynn writes, Zelensky should be immediately escorted out of the White House and immediately exported back to Ukraine. What a disrespectful piece of bleep this person is. How dare he speak to the President of the United States of America and to the people of America after all we the people have given to his country. And this piece of bleep still can't tell us where over 100 billion US tax dollars have even gone. Stop every bit of support to this madman. Like $100 billion. You know what that could do for our country? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I didn't consent to that kind of money going over to help this. Like to me, when I hear money is going for war, I hear innocent people getting killed. I hear the military industrial complex making money. I hear money being funneled out and being laundered somehow because it's all like, the card game, the shell game, they're moving things around. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't want we the people to be hurting they the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I alone in this? Because I know the people of other countries are just as good as you and I, minus the ones that have been indoctrinated with all this propaganda, told to, immediately hate the Jews or hate the Muslims or hate the whatever, right? But most people, they're born and they're raised as loving, amazing people. So I wouldn't want anybody of any other country, just as people from other countries wouldn't want to hurt the Americans. But our governments, on the other hand, all of them need a spanking because what they're doing, they're representing us, they're representing other countries, other people. No, these people are criminals at this point. That's what we need to call it.
So if you take the harsh reality that war is business and it's good business, look at the tone between the administrations.
Good business. Right.
So Biden capitulated. Every time Zelensky wanted to tap the piggy bank, he'd just come over and yell at people, right? Like little Napoleon man, mini would just come, he'd come running with his little legs and be like, give me money. And then they'd be like, oh, how many billions do you want? Here, speak in the bully pulpit in Congress in your dirty sweater. And it was fine, right? They just kept getting money. And you start asking why. Well, Ukraine as a country is where everything that's dirty goes to get funneled and cleaned up, right? It has strategic importance. So you had one administration that was like, yeah, let's just keep pumping this and got to get Russia. And then you see the change in tone where you now have an administration that says, look, war isn't good. Like, let's be done with this. Let's negotiate peace and let's be done with this. So innocent people stop dying, right? Because Ukraine has kind of got this meat grinder thing going on. And then all of a sudden there's an issue. Well, it's because they ain't getting no more money. Right, the gravy train is stopping, so now everybody's mad.
Yeah,
right. It's pretty simple. War's not good. So,
no. And you know who's really, really mad today in reference to all of this? The lamestream media, because they have already come out here boo-hoo, whining and crying. Oh, I've never seen a president act this way. And this one guy says Zelensky was the only one in there with quorum and decor, and he's the only one, these are the people. These media outlets is a disgrace. They're a disgrace. Standing up against the president of the United States and what we need. And again, they want to end this war. But no, the media, they flame this. Oh no, Zelensky is in the right. America is in the wrong. Why? America wants to stop this war. They want to stop the bloodshed. They want to stop the deaths. But no, that's not how they see it.
They want you to think that America, right? But the real Americans are the U's and the I's that are going, no, we don't want our money going over there. No, we don't want the USAID funneling money from us to do things that we don't agree with. No.
I mean, and if anybody thinks that Vladimir Zelensky has decorum, they should go to Google and type in Vladimir Zelensky piano. And you can see just how much decorum the comedian has. Like Julianna's 11th commandment. Don't fooleth thyselfeth.
Dude, he's running around in his tights, dancing around and stuff like that. I mean,
Well, I mean, and he played the piano with his parts, and it's just a
really. Oh, dear.
That's what I'm saying. Just, if you want to see a level of decorum or not,
disgusting,
then you can go on that hunt for yourself. But remember, Zelensky was a comedian and a popular one before he became president, but he did an entire skit on him being president.
All theatrics.
All theatrics.
It's nothing but theatrics.
So, I mean, it's.
But do these people, they go, I want to run for this position, and it's all like, I'm going to give you the show. This is what I'm going to look like at the podium. I'm going to practice and make sure that I'm elegant and I know what to say and who my audience is. It's theatrics.
Most political classes are oligarchies anyway, right? So you're hand selected. I mean, there's been discussion about this even with the president of the United States, that there is a selection process, not an election process. No matter how bad people want something, whoever power brokers want in there, they're going to put enough money, power, and influence behind to get them in, and that flows down. But see, somebody like Zelensky is selected for whatever their role is, and then they mock people by saying, oh, let's do a skit with Zelensky as if he was president of Ukraine. So now they've already laid the groundwork. It's like, how did the Simpsons know all this stuff was going to happen years before it happened? Right? There's programming. That's why they call it programming. Right? They get you ready for it, and they say, oh my God, how did they know? Because that's what they've been planning all along.
Wow.
Theatrics.
You know, that makes me think about Chris Hart in his new book that he has, and I forget how he puts it. Wrestling. How wrestlers, it's all theatrics, it's all a show, it's all about this, and politics.
Kayfabe.
It's the same thing. Yes, RC. Tell us about that, please. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so Chris Hart. Chris is a great friend. The American Adversaries has had us on. They utilize our research. Politics and Pro Wrestling is the title of Chris's book, and you have to get a copy. Chris is a brilliant political mad scientist, and what he talks about in professional wrestling, it's kayfabe, right? So you have to keep the rubes, the people who are watching, thinking that this is real. Meanwhile, everything is scripted in advance, and they work through this and how they're going to go. So it's all scripted, right? It's a show, basically. And so what Chris does is he connects the dots in how politics is like pro wrestling. It's the same thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna hit you in the head, and then on the third one, you're gonna duck, right? And then you're going to hit me in the stomach there, you pick me up and body slam me. And if you watch pro wrestling closely, even from the old days, you'll see them talking to each other, right? Now, I've been in and around the business, so I understand how a lot of it works. And it's amazing to watch how these guys work. I'm like, people think, oh, it's fake and whatever. It is fake. It is scripted.
Right.
The physical part of it is quite real.
Because it
hurts, right? But the way that these guys work through it, like how they talk about a match before they go out, and then how they talk to each other in the ring about what they're going to do.
Like, be ready, I'm going to body slam you.
Right? It's like, if you watch real close, you can see their mouth moving, and they're telling each other what the next move is and how they're going to do it and stuff like that. And so politics is much the same way. A lot of this is just theatrics. So I'm going to go argue this in the Senate, and then you're going to argue against it, because ultimately we want people to vote against this, so they'll vote for this. That happens all the time at every house level, whether it's federal, state. It happens in your own county, your own city, your mayor's office. It happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I thought that was quite an interesting way, his book. I don't have it yet, but I definitely think it's something I need to get my hands on and read, because I think there's a lot of play in there. You got it autographed.
I got it
Wonderful.
signed. Yes, I wanted it signed.
Yes, gosh. But this is where we are in this political space. You're right, it's fake. There's so much fakeness when you look at all of these things, when you look at this. And that brings us to another thought that we've been looking at, is our data Republican that has taken it upon herself. Actually, Elon Musk kind of tapped onto her because she was tweeting stuff, and Elon Musk found her and he said follow her, and so now they've discovered her. She's this data scientist who is using AI to sort of tie in the strings, so to speak. She's sort of bringing it all together. Who's doing what, how, because before we couldn't really see these things. It can't really be done with just the human eye, but with AI, we are able to really figure out and see what these people are doing, who's getting paid what for what. And so she is literally calling out names. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch how she really, really helped Elon Musk in this venture of Doge and truly draining the swamp.
Yeah, I mean, Father bless this young lady. She's deaf, and she got doxxed. Like, she was trying to stay behind the scene, and these people, of course, because this is what garbage people do, they doxed this poor young lady. So let me pull this up, because she said, okay, I'm going to get out in front of this. Here's who I am. Here's about me. So she went on News Nation recently to discuss what was going on. And so let me try and expand this so we get a better look at it. Let's take a look and a listen at what she had to say here.
So Norm Eisen, he runs an NGO called State United Democracies Center. State United Democracy Center. It's actually full of big names like Janet Napolitano, Tom Ridge, Michael Steele. Many famous names were involved in this specific NGO. Now, that NGO accepts $17 million in private donation. So I was researching. What do they do? Like, with $17 million, I started researching. But the only thing I could find, and I wouldn't dig, but the only thing that I found, they made a knockoff Muppet show. You think I'm kidding? They actually made Muppets, but like knockoff puppets. And all the videos that they made with these knockoff puppets had less than 200 views. And so I'm wondering, all those big names, all those famous people at the NGO, and the only thing they did with $17 million was make a terrible Muppet show. They got money and they did something with that. It was just awful. Jim Henson would roll in his grave.
I saw the video on your ex. Of the Muppets.
Yes. Yeah, I know. And it was weird because all the videos have less than 200 views. They didn't even try to promote them with ads or anything. So where did the $17 million go?
That.
And the end is the question that she wants us to really take a hard look at, right? Where did it all go? Why? How does this happen?
Yeah. And I saw the video. I mean, they could have paid somebody on Fiverr, $50, $100 to put this thing together. $17 million. Where did the money go? And when she talked about these powerful people, Michael Steele, who was the chair of the RNC, Republican, the other gentleman, he was also a Republican who received received money or however it all worked out. These are the people that was involved in the $17 million video that really could have cost $100 to make. Like, where did the money go?
It's like the old joke. It's like, what do you think they actually pay $3,000 for a toilet or $2,000 for a hammer? Right? Independence Day, when the old guy was like, yeah, where do you think that money goes? Come on, this is what they do with it.
Did they not think that they were going to eventually be found out?
No, they didn't.
No.
That's the level of arrogance, right? Is because the system is set up like roulette. It's like, so they each have a gun to each other's head. So they're both
Right.
incentivized to keep the grift going, because how much of that money flowed through the NGO and then flowed back into some organization that could pay a politician who made sure that money got to where it was going. Right. And then there's a nonprofit sitting there for that politician when they're all done that'll pay him $350,000, $400,000 a year as executive consultant or executive director to run it.
That's sick.
It's the grift that keeps on grifting.
Yeah, the grift that keeps on grifting. And they didn't see AI coming. They didn't see things like AI coming to really look at the data, look at the numbers, look at all of, the spider web, right? They weren't looking, no, we're going to keep getting rich. We're going to keep doing this. Nobody's ever going to find out. Nobody's ever going to know, because the human eye isn't quick enough to do this. But yeah, they weren't counting on AI, and somebody like Elon Musk, like this woman, data Republican, and the AI coming to help save our democracy, as they like to say.
For our democracy. It's interesting. When we had the lab opened at first, that first year, we started doing Constitution movie nights leading up to the 2020 election. And the premise for that is that we wanted to share the research we had done. We had connected the dots with all of the NGOs connected to George Soros and the Open Society Foundation. And you begin to see, it's like, oh, they're doing this and they're doing this, and here's what this web looks like. The fact now that we have AI, where we can dig deeper and go faster, is going to uncover a ton. And I cannot wait, because I know so many of these grifters. I mean, I lived and worked in Minneapolis for 4 years. Minneapolis is the world capital of nonprofits, where the orange three-legged sloth that only breeds in August of odd years can get $200,000 a year, right? So even at the lowest level, and I'll stop, I promise, but we're chopping it up. So I figured I would just share. How does someone who has no tangible skill whatsoever other than existing, how are they making $150,000, $200,000 a year? I'll explain. Here's what you do. You go and you start a nonprofit for three-toed orange sloths who only breed every second August, okay? You set up, and then you go write a grant for research on how to get them to breed every August, which is complete BS. And you go and you say, who will give me $250,000 for some BS? Now, we just talked about how you can get 17 million for some BS. 250,000 is a drop in the bucket. They say, sure, we'll give you that money for research. By the way, would you like more to do 2 or 3 other things? No, I'm inherently lazy. Okay, okay. So you get your $250,000 grant. You pay yourself roughly $180,000 in salary as executive director. You hire an assistant who really doesn't do anything. You open up a bogus office. You shuffle some paper around. At the end of the year, you lie on your report for all the things you did with the money, and you apply for the grant the next year. Well, congratulations. Now you're making 180 plus bonus. So you're making $200,000. You got stellar benefits. You got an assistant that you can have do whatever you want. And if you want to sell tchotchkes or wigs or whatever else you want to do out the back door, you can fund that business with the nonprofit, and nobody cares. That is how you say, how does this person make all this money? I just explained to you the system. Please do not use it. But when you see people do it, call them out. That's what I used to do.
I think that's what's been happening with the USAID, and now we're looking into, our representatives and their bank accounts and where all the money's been going, and how did you be broke, right? Like Maxwell Frost, and then all of a sudden become a millionaire and be able to do all these different things. Like,
did we ever figure that out, by the way, Amania? Did we figure out how Maxwell Frost got to a net worth of 1.5 million in 3 years?
No, I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
How
remember
convenient.
that Elizabeth Warren and
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders was 100% supporting him, and I think they donated all this money.
Oh, right.
and-
So yeah, because Maxwell Frost came to see us because he wanted us to be on his
Yeah,
his
okay.
cryptocurrency council. He's like, oh, it's nonpartisan, and he had asked for a meeting. He had asked an intermediary to book a meeting. So he came to the lab. We had this conversation, and we're like, yeah, that's going to be a hard no. And then the week after that, Elizabeth Warren gave him $1 million.
Wow.
And it's like,
Yep. Yep.
yikes.
Yeah. Wow.
The
Man,
grift is real, like you always say.
Mm-hmm.
it is indeed real. These people are getting rich. And you know what else Data Republican brought up? And she says, when you see these people out here with their hair on fire, pushing back, pushing back on what's the discoveries that's happening, they are deep in it. They have been benefiting from it. They are a part of it, and they are afraid of this thing becoming short. So yeah, she said it. When you see them out here boohoo whining and screaming, Jasmine Crockett,
It's
when
them.
you see them out here boohoo and crying, Maxwell Frost, Elizabeth Warren, Raphael Warnock, all of them,
So speaking of all of them, on our podcast that's coming out that we just did, we talked about Laura Loomer. I want to talk about local politics. I'm really not in the know the way that you're in the know. So what do you know that's going on local to Central Florida that, the people should know about?
I don't know of anything right now. What's happening? We talked about Geraldine.
Right.
What else? We do have 2 new districts in Orange County, so we're going to be having elections for that. And the governor has not decided on the special election just yet for Geraldine Thompson's seat. That I do know of. I haven't heard that. I did hear yesterday that Baby Bracy is going to be running for that seat. I call him Baby Bracy right now. I can't think of his first name. Not the sister, but the brother. That was his seat before. So he is going to be what's his name? Baby Bracy. Anyway, well, that's what they call him behind the scenes because they say he's a mama's boy. So Baby Bracy is what it is. So I hear he's running for that seat. And I don't know too much about anybody else going for that. I don't know. Yeah,
Randolph Bracy.
Randolph, that's it.
He left it up.
Oh, no problem. Here to help.
Yeah. So he's running for that seat. I don't know if we have anybody on our side of the aisle that's going to be taking him on right now for that. But as of yesterday, that's what I heard, that he's talking about nonprofits. I hear that him and his wife, or his wife in particular, has an issue with her nonprofit, and that she was given extra money or something like that, and now she's got some explaining to do about not returning it or something. So that there's a story brewing there with her nonprofit, his wife, like $250,000. So I'm not sure how all that's entailing, but I know that they got some explaining to do about their nonprofit.
Having a nonprofit as a ministry, especially as a public charity, it's not that the reporting requirements are too onerous. I mean, they're annoying at some points, but the one thing that is a stickler is how you deal with funds that come in. Whether they are in the form of a grant, which is its own set of issues. This isn't a class, but the other thing is donor funds. And I think part of what happens, Amania, to this point, this is a good lesson, because there are others out there who have nonprofits who are doing the same thing, who just, hey, there hasn't been announced that they've been busted, or it has, and they're fighting it, or they paid to make it go away, is the misuse of donor funds. So if a donor comes to you and just donates, general fund, you can pretty much use it for whatever you want. But if someone gives you a chunk of cash for a specific thing, or you make an explicit statement or promise that those resources will be used for that thing and you don't do it, and the donor says, I got an issue with that, you either have to return that money or you're going to get investigated for misappropriation of funds. And it is the trade-off of having a nonprofit that gives you tax benefit and stuff like that, is that you have to do that. Most of your accounting and stuff you can get away with. They generally don't care. Right. And I'm not saying you should do anything illegal, by the way. It's just they generally don't care about that stuff. What they do care about, much like investors, they care about when they feel like someone's been cheated or misled. That's when they're going to drop the hammer on you. And look, $250,000 isn't a small amount of change.
That's a lot.
In the larger scheme of nonprofits, in the grifterverse, it's small, but that $250,000 is enough to get the state on your tail. Definitely. And the feds are probably going to come after that because it's like, so what are you doing? What happened? We know what happened, but I'm just saying. Okay.
So I have one last question. I want to know your opinions on Byron Donald.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Amania, you go first.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I saw his boy today.
And
Well, you're talking about him running for governor?
Yeah, which boy did you see today, by the way?
His muscle, Larry.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, word on the street is I've heard this for a while that he's running. I'm not sure. I think I saw something online that actually Governor DeSantis was asked about Byron and, you know, preparing to run and all of that. And he actually took a different stance. He was like, you know, right now we should be focused on the work that needs to be done for the American people, not really trying to focus on campaigning. So that's all I've got on that. I don't know too much more.
So Byron went on Fox News and announced that he is indeed going to run for governor of Florida.
He did.
A fun story. Yeah, now that the cat's out of the bag, he's going to do it. A couple of years ago, we were actually at a meeting with Erica, his wife, and we were sitting talking, and I just said it. I said, so Byron's going to be the next governor of Florida, right? And the look that we got was when it was kind of like a coy catbird smile. But
how did you know?
How did you know? And it's like, well, that's a logical conclusion, right? The resume that he's been building, a next logical step, if he's not going to be a senator, then he's going to try to run the state of Florida, right? So that he can come back around and either run for vice president or president at some point in the future. Like he's been primed for that. And you see that in his maturation, right? And I'm like, okay, so obviously Byron's going to run for governor in 2026. And so here we are. Now, that said, you know, we know Byron and he's on point with most of his stuff. I think there are some things in his past that they're going to try to drag through to try to stop that. And by all accounts, Casey DeSantis is looking at running as well. Wilton Simpson apparently wanted to be governor or wants to be governor. We'll see if that happens. It is going to be interesting to see what happens, how Democrats try to use the information that's available on Byron Donalds against him, and what the RPOF is ultimately going to do with this. So
Valerie Warts. Okay.
No, you go.
I was going to say, Valerie Warts was saying, you know, the Democrats always come to the table where they're like, this is my guy, this is my candidate, I'm strong, and I know that this person's going to win. Where the Republicans come to the table and go, well, Byron and Casey, and we don't know, and, you know, we're unsure. And why do we always come to the table not strong the way the Democrats come to the table?
You know, I was going to say, I remember I got a couple of surveys some time back, and they were asking about Byron and everything. But you know who else they were asking about? Matt Gaetz. This is before all of this. So I think Matt Gaetz might be in the running now that he is no longer, you know, I think Matt Gaetz might be in the running.
So Matt Gaetz is an interesting character, right? Because we know what happened with his AG run. And you wonder if he pops his head up for that, and although he's got clout in the state, if he pops his head up for that, how much more is there in that investigation that we don't know about? And I'm not saying that Matt Gaetz is guilty of anything because we don't know. Okay. But what else comes out? I mean, it's like I think you're going to deal with that with anybody because politicians are, by all accounts, human beings, which means they're fallible and everybody's got a past. And so you just wonder if there's enough gas in the tank for him to survive something like that, because those allegations were pretty serious. And I mean, to the point where when your associates, when they end up doing an episode of American Greed, you're pretty far down the road. Okay? So yeah, I mean, if I was looking at it today, I would say Byron has a strong angle. But we've got 2 years before that happens. So let's see.
It's 2026.
Yep. Yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, obviously Byron will term out. So
okay. Wow. So I'm thinking about it now, looking at everything that happened with the AG run for Matt Gaetz. Yeah, I could see it now. He may not have the chops to go all the way with such a thing, with everything that's happening with his life and this whole investigation. He may not take that on, Yeah,
he's going to have to bide his time, I think, strategically. And again, this is just opinions from a guy who's a researcher, right? But if you look at it on the surface, because the way that Florida has shifted, we've got a lot of purple in places where we really shouldn't have it. And if there's a polarizing enough figure, I just want to give people context. If there is a polarizing enough figure or issue, we saw this with abortion. Seminole County, where we live, Orange County, a couple of other counties actually got over the 60% threshold.
That's right.
To enshrine to the Constitution. Fortunately, there were enough votes around the state to keep it under that threshold, but that wasn't a win. That was a stay of execution. Yep. And so if you follow that logic, the Democrat machine will put as much money into the governor's race as they believe it will take to win if they think there's a legitimate shot to win. And they're going to say to themselves, all we need to do is turn enough people. If we make it toxic enough, either A, they won't vote, B, they'll vote for a third party candidate and we'll split it, or C, they'll just say, you know what, I'm just going to vote for the lesser of two evils, and they'll vote for the charlatan that the Democrats put up, right? So, it's a strange place to be in.
It is.
It
is. Wow.
All right, my sunshine.
All right. We've had a
We chopped it up.
We chopped it up good today. There's
I'm
so much
this
more.
one on. Right. He just brings a wealth of information to the table.
Oh yeah. RC is a walking computer, friends. He's got so much knowledge in him, and I just love hearing him put it all together for us. So thank you.
You two are very kind. You two are very kind. I will come back on anytime that I'm welcome.
Yes. Well, Julianna, I'm gonna say my part here. Friends, if you don't know, you can check me out at theorlandopatriot.com, where you can get some of my merch. I've got some great new products, t-shirts, mugs, and if you don't know, on the radio, they call me Sister Warrior. And so, and I tweeted the other day, Amania was given to me by birth. The conservative poet was given to me by choice. That was my choice. And the people has called me Sister Warrior. So you can go to theorlandopatriot.com, where you can find yourself a Sister Warrior shirt if you'd like to support what I do on the conservative poet. And if you can also, you can check out our live program that we're having, live event that's happening April 5th. It's going to be quite the adventure. The wives talking about being a wife, helping young women, talking about the family unit and how to build family. And so it's going to be a great conversation. And that's happening April 5th. 2025, that's going to be at the Sign technology building. That's an adventure all in its own. But yeah, that's where you can catch us all. Thank you, Julianna, RC.
You're so welcome. And I'm Julianna Ormond, and this is RC Williams. We are with Watchman Action. We are doing our first training next Friday. We're very excited. The Watchman Action workbook is in print as we speak. I'm very thrilled that we're going to be able to do this. And if you want to check out all of our publications and everything that we've been doing, go to watchmanaction.org. Everything is there. So from RC and I, we bid you farewell. We love all of you, and good night.
Good night, everybody.